Well, it is good to kind of get started, and we actually had practice number 10. We go about an hour and a half, some days 2 hours. So we're only getting 12 full ones. We had some individuals, so we got two more next week. They're a little fatigued. I just think the daily grind of being in the weight room, it's summer. We don't have a game tomorrow, but you as coaches are doing this like we have a game tomorrow. But some of this is just we need to speed up this process. Really excited about this group. I mean, we practiced from 7 to 9 last night, and I thought, when I got home, my daughter asked me, how was it? I was like, not good. But didn't know what the juice would be like today because we came back in and went again at 9:30 this morning, and I thought they were great. And when you see that, you realize you have a group that can kind of regroup and kind of understand that the intensity needs to be dialed up. Handled everything well. I think we're really simple right now, but because we have a veteran group, junior, seniors, I feel like there are tweaks that can be made during the course that we can handle pretty well. We'll see. So 1 week left in the summer, but to be honest, we've avoided injuries. I've always thought if guys are eligible and they passed all their classes, and at the same time they're getting better, you've made good strides in the summer.
Describe the what makes Karan so special defensively. I've heard a lot of people rave about him. Is it the versatility? Just what is it about him that just makes him so good on defense?
Yeah, one, physicality. I mean, when you look at him and you look at his legs, I remember watching Russell Westbrook when I would go to the OKC Thunder practice, and his legs were like the size of an oak tree. When you look at KB, you can see his base, and you realize just how physically strong he is, and then the fact that he can move his feet. And so he's got really good lateral. He has physicality, and then he's got switchability, right? I mean, he can defend 1 through 4. We've been playing him at the point guard this summer, simply because we've seen it. Sign James left Tulane as a power forward, went to Duke, and we've kind of offensively tried to see if he could act as a facilitator, and he's done a good job. But we really think just the on ball, his ability to guard the best on ball guy or the other team's point guard, that's where I think he's unique. He just doesn't have to go out there and defend a 4. He can turn around and guard a perimeter player. But there's two things I've walked away with this summer. I should say three. One, Kenyon Giles can really score the ball. He really has a terrific ability and a knack for scoring and making tough shots. Karon Boyd can guard his tail off, and it's not a fluke. It's legit. And then third is our size up front is big. In previous years, you may have some drop offs if you were to ever have to go to your backup guys, but I do feel Will, E-Man, Noah, they really carry quite a presence, and they've done a really good job. But Karan Boyd is a, a presence defensively.
How much of Karan's presence you also anticipate leading to easy buckets in transition, or even him, whether that's him starting it or finishing it in that aspect?
Yeah, playing point guard and kind of just seeing what he is. I'm not telling you that he's going to be a full time PG for us, but his ability to offensive rebound at that spot is different because a lot of teams don't see point guards rebound offensively. I think that's where he adds value. He does. He has the ability. If you go back and watch our game here, he's a capable passer. It's what he does. Handling pressure is kind of a different story. He's got a ways. Reads are a different story, but again, we've looked at him more as initiator rather than trying to be a playmaker. He can facilitate. You can see that he did that at East Tennessee State. But all that to say, I think there's going to be times where he's at, but his ability is going to be the fact that he can rebound at that spot defensively in order to bring the ball up, and then offensively just really cause problems for other teams' ones. So that's the way it plays out in my mind, but we'll see if that's actually the case.
You mentioned last time we spoke about he was really good at talking and just using his voice, and is he just like one of those defenders where if you have him on your five, he's just gonna lift everyone else up? Does he have that value?
The key to good players is you can make others around you better, right? A rising tide is going to raise all ships, and he does that. He has that ability to. Again, he is such a force with his presence, and when we watch guys play one-on-one, and we play one-on-one, we play two-on-two. I mean, you can ask him. I don't think I've ever seen him run because the losers have to run. And I mean, it's generated something in regards to who he is. But I think Wichita State has had that in the past. They've had on-ball defenders at the point of attack that really squelch the other team's offense. So that's what we were hoping. It's not just plug him in for Ronnie DeGray and it's a plug and play at that specific spot. We actually think he can do more on the perimeter at the one.
And with someone like Giles, is that someone that you think of his size? He's a point guard, but does he operate mostly off the ball, coming off screens? How does he get his offense done?
Yeah, both. He's done a really good job navigating pick and roll. We're not the best right now at pick and roll defense, so you don't know how much of this is just phony. But he can play off ball. He can play on it. He's running through reps to where he has to play on ball and he has to play off it. So he's done enough there to where he understands. But if you go watch his UNCG games, he played a lot off the ball. And he can play with the ball. That's what I didn't know. I didn't know about his ability on the ball. But to be honest with you, we have gym rats. We have guys who, if you come in here at 7 a.m., I mean, we've got, honestly, I think the first 2 weeks, it was everybody except for two guys. And then I think the past 4 weeks, it's been every single player. And it's you have guys who want to work, KG being one of those guys. But he can do both. Didn't know about his ability to navigate pick and roll, but it's better than what I anticipated. Don't know how much of that was attributed to porous defense.
So it kind of sounds like the level of buy-in has almost been the same as last year. I remember you said a lot of the players were here from the jump. Can you talk about that a little more?
Yeah, we've never had, we have guys who come in and get in work in the mornings. We've never had everybody show up. I mean, to give you an example, the first Friday night that we had, trust me, as a coach, we get 160 of their 168 hours in a week. I can't tell you how worried I am about what they do in those other 160, right? They don't have class in the context of having to show up. A lot of them have some online responsibilities. We're only allowed to be with them 8 hours a week. Okay, 4 on the court and then 4 in the weight room. That is it. So I worry about what do players do those other 160, and it's not always good. So the first Friday night, I can tell you, don't tell the players this, but I was happy Wichita was voted as the second boringest city in all of America because that can limit some opportunities and some temptations. But the first Friday night, Kendall, organized an open gym. And they were all in here, and they were here from 7 to 11. And I said, that's my kind of squad. I wasn't born into basketball royalty, had to work and had to be obsessed with it. And so when I heard Friday night, I said, hey, they're all in the gym. Will got a sprained ankle that night, so he was out the next week. I did not care. I was actually happy that their Friday night was spent being in a gym rather than let's go navigate the city and see what we can get ourselves into. So that's encouraging. But it's just really guys. I mean, Dre sits right here when we come into film. I was telling the staff, he and Dylan had these long conversations about what's going to occur on the film and the open areas where they can make plays. I walk in here, they're consumed with basketball. See the morning and with the GAs, they're consumed with basketball. And again, wasn't on us. This is totally initiated by the players, and they hold open gyms on Friday nights. It needs to continue. And to be honest with you, it's kind of what I'm used to.
And then I noticed you got the 10th round gear and the new Nike swoosh.
Well, this is old. This is an old
okay.
one. Yeah, this isn't.
Gotcha.
This is from a previous place.
I guess, is that still a thing this year?
It is still a thing. Yeah, I was actually showing them just because we'll do a little bit more scrimmaging. We're taking them to an escape room next week just to kind of change things up. For me, I'll gauge the intellect to see who can get in and who can get out. But we do need to change things up just because it's I hate to say monotonous, but this is kind of what they do. But we'll scrimmage a little bit, so we did explain to them what round one, what round two, and they don't even know that every 4 minutes there's a timeout. So some of that's kind of an introduction.
Whether it was from conversations with Michael or from the film, what do you think led to his jump in shooting to where he was at last year, and what tells you that can be sustainable?
Yeah, I would tell you injuries. When he was injured at George Mason, had to set the year out, and if you go look, Nicholls State just wasn't healthy and felt like he was finally healthy. So I just think he's battled through injuries, always been able to shoot. He does have on-ball ability. He's been able to make difficult shots. If you go watch, when Nicholls State beat McNeese State, he's making big shots and he has that ability. But again, sometimes you have ideas about where players are at, but you're not sure if they can do A or B or C. And so a lot of this is us trying to figure out what are they capable of. He has point guard capabilities rather than just catch and shoot, but I do attribute his north of 40% shooting to the fact that he's finally healthy. And he'll tell you that.
Coach, I remember you mentioned communication and versatility on defense were kind of the basis for this year.
Yeah.
Since we talked last, how has that kind of evolved?
Yeah, probably depends on the day. I can tell you, we do a thing every Friday called Finish Friday, and it's not fun. They're kind of put through it quite a bit, but they need to do it. Long story short, they run a mile, and they need to do it within a certain framework. The previous Friday, like the numbers were off the chart. We had guys breaking 5-minute miles, and they were phenomenal. And then this Friday, everybody went downhill. And so you have these ups and downs and that kind of go through it. And some of it's just the work's pretty laborious throughout the course of the week. And there's days where we try to kill them on Friday and then we make them run the mile last. So you can kind of see the ups and downs, but that's what summer is. It's really a growth. Going back to worried about players and what they do, we really do try to kill them a little bit on Friday, so their willingness to do things on Friday night and Saturday, they may not be as energized.
And when Kenyon having a player with that kind of, I guess, gravity, how can that change an offense? How can that open some things up when you have a guy like that defenses are going to have to be so concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, our inability last year was due to we just couldn't shoot the basketball. We had open shots. I think there's a place called Shot Quality. If you go look at it, it says we generated the 7th most open threes in the country. So you have an offense that generates, don't quote me on that number, it's pretty high, but like you're generating open looks, is not making them. And so I think all of those guys, I think from Brian, I think from Michael, I think from KG, all those guys, I think Karon's a better shooter than what he showed. So we'll see how that translates. But all of that to say, like, you can play with a lot of force at the rim. People are not just going to let you get shots at the rim. Defenses are going to collapse. So when you spray it out, you have to make people who can make you pay. And we haven't been able to do that. And, we'll see. But feel like this team's capable.
Coach, I saw after practice, TJ walked around the circle, dapped up every player, was the loudest player coming back through the locker room. Just kind of how big is it for him to step up, even though he had a red shirt last season, is a younger guy, stuff like that?
Yeah, a player-led team is always better than a coach-led team. and you do have to have players who take ownership of what's actually occurring. He does that. I do think that a year of familiarity with our staff and just being around it helps. It also helps that he's very confident as a player. And I mean, he's got a track record that allows that confidence to occur. But you're also looking at a guy who is from Wichita. And so he talks about being in this building. You know, he one of the things he showed me when he was on his recruiting visit is he's helping up Fred VanVleet off the floor when he's a ball boy at 10 years of age. And so he takes a lot of pride in not only the city but in what's occurring here, and the fact that he demonstrates it on the court is a tribute to him, and he's actually made really good strides.
I also noticed JV had his ankle wrapped towards the end of practice. Can you kind of tell us like if it's anything serious, like what happened?
Honestly, don't know. It just happened today. It was during a one-on-one drill. So my guess is it's, hey, ice it down. You'll be okay in a couple of days. I don't think it's anything serious. Todd didn't come over and mention anything about needing to take him to the doctor. So, but that's honestly, I mean, we had Will with a sprained ankle. He had to sit out a week, and then today JV. Those are really the only two issues we've had.
With Michael Gray, you mentioned he's healthy now. Is there anything that's surprised you? You know, once you've gotten him in the gym, you've seen him, practice now. Is there anything about his game? We're like, man, like we saw a little of this on film, but this is really starting to show in person.
Talking to other coaches when you make these phone calls about other players, I heard from multiple coaches. They said he's a square, and I said that's my kind of guy. But you don't know that, right? You're like, is he really obsessed with basketball? He's like, he's going to talk to his girlfriend and he's going to be in the gym. And I was like, that's it. And they're like, yes. And I was like, those are my kind of squares. And so the fact that you don't know that, people can say that stuff. So I've seen it since he's been here. He's been in the gym, loves the gym, and here putting in work. His parents are in the military there in Japan. And so he's flying out next week when summer is over to head to Japan. And I think that's probably a unique experience. And so sometimes you can get guys who are kind of floating a little bit because, I haven't seen mom and dad in a while. And I'm kind of thinking down the road about what may occur and the opportunity for that. But he's been locked in. Saw him meeting with KG earlier today just about how to make sure offense was generated a little more efficiently than what it was, but he's done a good job.
With the AfterShocks back here, is this an opportunity? Do you want these guys to interact with them, or is it just depend on schedules? Or
Yeah, I don't know about interaction. Those guys are pretty locked in. We will have some opportunities to interact with those guys in the latter part of this week. Before we play the game. So it'll be good for our players, not only just to meet these guys who've worn the same uniforms that they've worn or they will wear. So these kind of things are nothing but beneficial. When you're aware of some of the people who've done the same things that you've done, been in the same locker room, sat in these same chairs, played on the same court, I just think it aids the process, but I really think from a player's perspective, it enriches their idea about the history that is associated with Wichita State basketball.
Anything else? All right.
Thanks, guys.